And Ed, we'll have more on that news conference that just wrapped up in Ferguson, Missouri in a moment. But first, we head to Washington. We just got this video about a half an hour ago. President Obama is on a 2-day break from his vacation. Hopefully in a second we'll see President Obama meeting with Vice President Joe Biden. There we go. And members of his National Security Council. The president is getting an update on the situation in Iraq as the U.S. continues to step up airstrikes against Islamic radicals. Also later today, President Obama is expected to meet with Attorney General Eric Holder to discuss the situation in Ferguson. Also new this hour, as we mentioned, in Missouri, lawyers and medical experts hired by the family of 18-year-old Michael Brown just finished a news conference. They further discussed the findings of that independent autopsy. A pathologist says a bullet wound to Brown's arm may have happened when he put his hands up, but the medical expert was careful to say, "We just don't know." Also, Benjamin Crump, the lead attorney hired by Brown's family, also questioned why the 18-year-old would have been shot at the very top of his head. Crump says it makes no sense. In the meantime, Governor Jay Nixon has called out the National Guard to help control the violent protests we've seen many nights in a row now in Ferguson. This after demonstrators started shooting at police following a new curfew that led to escalating violence over the weekend. Police officers in riot gear were back on the streets late last night using tear gas and rubber bullets trying to stop these protesters. But the violence resumed when angry demonstrators began moving towards a police command center and then refused to back down. Officer Ron Johnson, a captain with Missouri's Highway Patrol, explained why police were forced to respond with force.
Molotov cocktails were thrown. There were shootings, looting, vandalism, and other acts of violence that clearly appear not to have been spontaneous or premeditated criminal acts.
As you can see here, these violent protests have dragged on for more than a week now in Ferguson after the unarmed teenager was shot and killed by a police officer. In the meantime, as we mentioned, U.S. Attorney General Eric Holder says the Justice Department plans to conduct its own autopsy because of, quote, the extraordinary circumstances involved in the case and at the request of Brown's family. In Texas, Governor Rick Perry continues to step up his fight against that 2-count federal indictment, or felony indictment, I should say, which accuses the potential 2016 Republican nominee of abusing his gubernatorial powers. Prosecutors say Governor Perry abused his power by vetoing a $7.5 million state fund, which would have been used by a public integrity agency. That agency was run by Travis County District Attorney Rosemary Lemberg. Governor Perry's veto came after Lemberg pleaded guilty to a 2013 DUI charge and then refused to resign. Perry says he did nothing wrong and actually told Fox News Sunday that he'd make the same decision all over again.
This is not the way that we settle differences, political differences in this country. You don't do it with indictments. We settle our political differences at the ballot box.
Well, Perry classified this indictment as, quote, a farce. The Republican governor from Texas, and of course, isn't the only one who thinks the indictment is ludicrous. Democratic strategist David Axelrod took to Twitter to share his thoughts. Axelrod tweeted, quote, unless Perry was demonstrably trying to scrap the ethics unit for any reason other than his stated reason, the indictment seems pretty sketchy. Now we turn to Iraq. Kurdish security forces have taken back control of the country's largest camp from ISIS militants. This is the first major victory against the al-Qaeda-inspired rebels since U.S. airstrikes began in northern Iraq earlier this month. Over in Ukraine, officials say dozens of civilians have been killed during a rebel attack today. Pro-Russian separatists attacked a convoy full of people trying to flee war-torn eastern Ukraine. Those rebels have not commented on today's attacks. A Ukrainian military official says some of those killed include children.